You ever walk out your door one morning expecting peace and maybe your Amazon package, and instead find your patio your actual, legally owned patio transformed into someone else's wedding venue? Because that's how my Saturday started. One step outside and booth folding chairs, floral arches, caterers rolling in like they owned the place, and some guy in a tux rehearsing vows next to my barbecue grill. For a solid few seconds, I thought maybe I had died in my sleep, and this was some bizarre afterlife prank. But no, it was real, painfully, absurdly real. Right there, standing like she was queen of the cul-de-sac, was Diane, HOA president, self-appointed ruler of our neighborhood, and possibly the most entitled human I've ever met. And when I say she was proud of what she'd done, I mean she was beaming, hands on hips, directing traffic on my deck like she was planning the Oscars. Only it wasn't the Oscars, it was my backyard, and she had turned it into her niece's wedding stage, without asking me a single thing. Now, before you go thinking I'm some uptight hermit who hates love, let me just say I built that patio with my own hands. Stained the wood, sealed it, got every permit signed and double-checked. That deck is 12 feet into my property line, paid for, taxed for, and absolutely not communal space. But Diane, bless her deluded soul, had other ideas. See, for the past few weeks she'd been unusually nice. Brought over banana bread one day, complimented my yard the next. Even smiled, which was honestly the first red flag. I should have known something was off. But I figured maybe she'd joined a yoga class or found a new anti-anxiety tea. Turns out, she was buttering me up, laying groundwork to take over my property while I was supposed to be out of town for work. And I had told her, stupidly, that I might be gone for a couple days that weekend. That was all she needed. Next thing I knew, measuring tape showed up on my deck and chalk marks appeared like some architectural ghost had visited. I assumed it was kids, until a man in a suit knocked on my door and asked if the property owner had approved the updated seating chart. When I said, "I am the property owner," and he looked confused and muttered, "Mrs. Diane said." Well, that's when I knew we'd gone full delusional. I pulled out the property map. My deck isn't HOA maintained. It's not in the communal agreement. There's no clause in the bylaws that says outdoor structures can be commandeered for personal events. But Diane, she quoted something about temporary communal enjoyment of extended shared features. That clause, it's about bike racks. Bike racks. I could have called the cops right then. Could have sent every last guest packing. But there's something you need to know about me. I like to plan ahead. And after years of HOA nonsense, from fines over lawn color to fights about solar panels, I had installed a little feature beneath my deck, a hydraulic tilt mechanism, fully motorized, remote-controlled. Built it for fun, honestly. But now, it had a purpose. So I waited. I watched. Diane was in full event planner mode, the kind of manic energy only a clipboard and delusion can fuel. Guests were arriving. The goat showed yuppies, a goat with a flower crown, tied to my railing. The catering truck tore up my grass. Someone zip-tied fairy lights to my memorial lavender bush. And still, not one person asked permission. Neighbors started peeking over fences. One of them, Mitch, raised a coffee mug and asked, "You charging rent now, or just letting Airbnb the place?" I said, "Apparently I'm just part of the ambience." We laughed, but deep down, I was seething. Then came the kicker. A man in a headset knocked on my door, said he was the wedding planner, and asked me not to make noise between 4 and 7 p.m. so the ceremony audio would be clean. I asked him, "You do realize this is my house, right?" He blinked, then said, "Diane said you'd be cooperative." I smiled and said, "Of course," and closed the door. That was when I booted up the drone. Hadn't used it in months, but that day it soared. Quiet. Discreet. Streaming everything to a private server. I wanted proof, visual, undeniable proof of what was happening on my property. And more than that, I wanted the moment. The exact second when Diane's fantasy collided with reality. Next morning, wedding day, I woke early. Coffee in hand, I watched from the window. My patio looked like a festival ground. There was an ice sculpture, a harpist, a champagne fridge humming on my back porch outlet. And Diane, she was dressed like she was hosting the royal wedding, smiling, waving, soaking in praise like she built the place herself. Guests poured in. One woman complimented my flower beds like they were part of the decor. Someone tried to feed my dog shrimp. The bride arrived in a stretch limo, gushed about how Diane had made everything perfect. And Diane soaked it in, not a hint of shame on her face. Then the fire marshal showed up. Apparently someone complained. I swear it wasn't me, but I wasn't sad about it either. He walked around, spotted the propane burners near curtains, the wires everywhere, and asked who was in charge. Diane stepped up like she was running a Broadway show. When he asked for permits, she smiled and handed him cake. He was allergic to eggs. He issued a warning and said one more complaint would shut it down. Diane turned to me furious. You called him, she hissed. I shrugged. Would I do that on such a special day? As ceremony time approached, I walked around the deck one last time, checking bolts, plates, the backup panel. Sure enough, someone, probably Diane, had tried to tamper with it. But all she found was a decoy. The real system? Hidden. Protected. Ready. Music started. Guests stood. Bride took her place. Diane stood to the side, phone ready to film history. And that's when I pressed the button. It was subtle at first. A soft shift. Then a tilt. Champagne bottles rolled. Plates slid. The cake trembled. And then, like something out of a dream, the entire thing tipped forward. Guests screamed. The bride lost her balance. The cake launched into the koi pond like a sugary torpedo. The DJ's laptop hit the floor. The goat ran free. Diane shrieked, flailing her arms like a drowning peacock. She turned to me, wet and furious, and screamed, "What did you do?" I stepped out, holding my drink, and said, "Looks like the deck's not level. Maybe too many guests." The HOA board arrived just then finally. 3 of them, all wide-eyed. One looked around and said, "Diane, did you use HOA funds for this?" She stuttered. It was a communal engagement effort, but it was too late. The board voted her out on the spot. And when she sat down in defeat, the chair slid and dumped her straight into the lawn. Drone still filming. Every second captured. 2 weeks later, Diane moved out. Rumor is she tried joining another HOA across town. They said no. The bride and groom tried to sue. My lawyer laughed. Case dismissed. I uploaded a short video. Entitled HOA President Throws Unauthorized Wedding Gets Tilted. It went viral. A documentary crew reached out. I said yes. Why not? And now, the deck is better than ever. I resealed it, added lighting, and a small sign that says, "Warning, tilts when provoked." People think it's a joke. It's not. So yeah, that's how my backyard became a battleground. And all Diane ever had to do is ask. But she didn't. And now she's a cautionary tale. You tell me, was I wrong? Or just prepared? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading. With a cold drink. From my patio? The one that still tilts.